Good morning. Here we go. This is the Leafs Convo. Norm in London, Mike in Buffalo, Season 8, Episode 21 for this January 18th, 2026. Your Maple Brothers 7-1-2 over their past 10, picking up 5 of a possible 8 points on their recent roadie. All of that put together, the Leafs are still 1 point out of the final wild card spot. Mr. Augello, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Norm. It's a day. It's a day ending in Y.
Right. Why? That's it. I get it. In the last 24 hours, things haven't necessarily gone well for you as a sports fan. But your Maple Leafs are in the hunt for a wild card spot, coming
Yeah.
off a 4-3 overtime win over the Winnipeg Jets. Mike, they had to have that win, right, to encapsulate the 4-game road swing, losing to the Vegas Golden Knights, blowing 4 2-goal leads, not looking too great against Utah. They had to have that win,
Yeah.
especially when you're playing against a team like the Jets, who've gone from the top of the league all the way to the bottom, gripping it too tight, not confident in themselves. The Leafs got the job done by the skin of their teeth. And Mike, I think what we've seen of late will be what we continue to see from the Maple Leafs between now and Game 82.
Well, we would hope, but I mean, I'm sure nobody. I'm sure everybody who has watched this show over the years realizes that I'm a glass is half empty rather than glass is half full guy. So I look at the victory against Colorado as a signature event because the Leafs were going up against a team with the best record in the NHL who had lost one time in regulation in Colorado, and they win in overtime. But you look at that game and you look at the game against Vegas, in which in both games they had a lead in the third period. In Colorado, it was 3-2. It wasn't particularly egregious that they blew a 1-goal lead to the best team in the NHL at this point. The loss in Vegas was egregious. The loss in Vegas was an abomination, and it can't be overlooked. And it's not because they were playing against number 16.
Right.
It was a point. It was more like because this team cannot squander points at this point in the season after a first half which was underwhelming. They cannot squander 2 points for 1 point because they had their head up their ass, and they had their head up their ass against Vegas. They were I've heard explanations as they were gassed and they were without their leading scorer. No, it was the fact that this team cannot close out games. And if you look at the statistics, they are the worst team, 32nd overall in terms of teams that lead after 2 periods in terms of winning percentage. They have the lowest winning percentage in the NHL for a team leading after 2 periods. I think it's 667, which is a joke. I mean, that means you're leading after 2 periods and you only win 2/3 of the games that you are leading. That is not a formula for success. And the fact that they did win 2 of 4 games on the road, lost one in regulation, lost one in overtime. They got 5 of a possible 8 points, but they have the second worst road record in the NHL. And these are things that could lead to their downfall in terms of even making the playoffs.
Hey, this is the Convo. Norm in London, Mike in Buffalo, and you. Like the content, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell notification so that anytime we produce content, you'll be aware of that. Check us out on TikTok as well. We cut up our show into short segments, and we have a lot of fun spending time with you every Sunday. And sometimes we'll sneak in a show like we did this past week to set up the Leafs' first engagement with Mitch Marner and the Vegas Golden Knights. Mike, the Leafs, let's be honest, and again, it's not going to change. They have to score their way out of problems. They're going to have to score their way to wins, and they're going to need their goaltenders to steal games. They've shown over and over again their inability to close games out, batten down the hatches, as we've used that phrase over and over again to get to where they want to go. I mean, the team is unbelievably flawed, and that's why they're a point out of a playoff spot right now. And the thing is, Mike, when it comes to road victories, they're not very good at winning away from Scotiabank Arena, but they're going to have to. The issue is, regardless of how good they are on home ice, they're running out of opportunities away from their own rink. And I hate to say it, but that may be their downfall when all is said and done.
Well, yeah, it could be. I mean, the second half is yet to play out. We don't know how injuries and other things will affect things. We also know that the Olympic break will have a benefit for some teams and I think, an issue for others. A team like Washington that only has 2 players going to the Olympics, Tom Wilson and Logan Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Most of their veteran players are going to get a long rest. I mean, I think anybody who looks at John Tavares recently could see that that he needs a long rest.
Right.
And I think he'll be invigorated once the stretch run starting in late February begins. So for some Leaf players, it's going to have a benefit. But the 3 key players are Matthews, Nylander, and to a lesser extent, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, although I think he's been probably one of their more consistent offensive performers on the blue line. Mm-hmm. Those guys aren't going to get rest. They're going to be playing, a high stakes international game where that every player is going to be going balls out. So, the Leafs will need to get their rest and get things straightened out. They've gotten things straightened out recently, and we know that, but they're going to have to maintain this pace and not only win more on the road than they have, but they have, I think, set an unrealistic winning percentage at home. They have one of the best home records in the league, but they're going to have to maintain that if they hope to make the playoffs.
Mike, they're about 3 or 4 wins short on the road. And when you look at the wild card standings right now, they're a point behind the Sabres, but the Sabres have 2 more wins with a game in hand. The Bruins have the first wild card spot. They're 2 points ahead of the Maple Leafs. The Leafs have a game in hand on them, but they're 4 wins behind. I mean, if this comes down to wins and losses, the Maple Leafs are not going to be in a position of advantage. They've got to get going. I mean, that's why we're watching this season. We're not necessarily expecting greatness from this team. We get what we get, and we get upset, but we're going to have to deal with it, Mr. Augello. A bunch of things I want to get to. I mean, OEL, 3 points last night. He's on pace potentially for his best season when it comes to productivity. That's great. But his fellow Swedish countryman, William Nylander, who's also having a great statistical season, has got some issues right now. Lower body injury, had to come out of the Vegas game, did not play in Winnipeg. He's been injured prior to this latest round being in the infirmary ward. We've got the Olympics coming up. Look, Mike, the Leafs' chances of getting anywhere when it comes to the postseason are already thin. If they don't have William Nylander, I don't think they're making it. So, what's the situation here? Are they resting him so he can be ready for Sweden? And what's going to happen if he's not fully healthy? How does that impact his ability to play in Italy?
Well, I mean, from the observation of what happened, he injured his ankle, but they're just saying lower body. He injured his ankle on the goal celebration after scoring a goal against Vegas, and he clearly caught a rut in the ice and twisted the ankle again. He missed 6 games the first time. Berube only said that he was going to miss last night and Monday against Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I find it hard to believe unless, it's just like they're being extra careful,
right? That,
he doesn't miss more games. He's not missing the Olympics unless he's got a broken bone. He's not missing the Olympics. That's all these players. I understand the national pride. I understand the cachet. I wish that these players would have more loyalty to the team that pays them their salary But I understand. Like I want the Americans to win. You want the Canadians to win. It's that's something. Is Sidney Crosby known more for the golden goal or for the three Stanley Cups that he's won? I think he's known equally. But it's a chance to have a medal and to earn something for your country. So I get that. But I just think like Nylander is going to go to the Olympics unless there's something more seriously wrong than a sprained ankle. He's going to go. Is he going to be 100%? Is he going to be at his utmost? Probably not. As for Ekman Larson, he's got 31 points in 48 games now. He was more a victim when he was in Phoenix of having a team around him that wasn't particularly good. He scored 20 goals in Arizona. He scored 20 goals twice. He scored double figures in goals 6 straight years. He's going to probably get double figures in goals this year. His best season was 55 points. He's on the edge. But the fact that the guy is 34 years old and he's doing this is the thing that's amazing. And I know that there are some comments in the chat about Morgan Rielly, and we'll get to them. And then I think everybody knows.
Do we have to keep going?
Well, that was the point. It's like, okay, folks, I keep telling you this, and I'll just say it one more time for a fact. Morgan Rielly is the best defenseman on this team. Is he a great defenseman? Is he a great defensive defenseman? No. He is a good offensive defenseman. Starting to lose a little bit of mobility and speed. He's still a good offensive defenseman. They're going to play him. It's not going to change. You can play him. Every time he has a -4, he has a +2. They're going to play it. And their defense, people are saying, well, they need a defenseman. He's the best one. Next, it's him and Ekman Larson, who are the two best moving defense on this team. Morgan Rielly's going to play. So stop.
Yeah, Mike, we're at a standoff with the OGs and converts and the general fan base. You see Morgan Rielly's value. I understand that he's a problem. I mean, if we were to call him that is not going anywhere. Fans just want to shit all over him because, he's the whipping boy. Do they want more from the guy? That's fair.
Sure.
As fans, of course. Can he provide more? He is what he is. And Mike, if the Leafs don't make the playoffs, it's not going to be Morgan Rielly's fault. And again, at some point, maybe he and the organization part ways and it's amicable. It's not going to be during the season. Guys, like the content, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate you being here. Mike's got a few issues with his connection right now, and that's okay. We'll just pound through. Austin Matthews has 10 goals in his last 11 games, 24 for the season. Seems light, but he's come on of late, and there's just something different about him right now, and it could be because the representing Team USA in Italy is just a few weeks away. He's got his swagger back, but there's just more to his game than just scoring. I can feel it. I can see it. He's just a different guy, and this is fantastic. Hopefully, this is really kicks off Act 2 of his career. Act 1 has been legendary. Dare I say, nearly Hall of Fame-esque. I want to see what he can do to follow that up over the next 6, 7, 8 years. And if this is the way he's going to start it with 10 goals in his last 11 games to try to help the Leafs pound their way into a playoff spot, I am here for it. Way to go, Austin Matthews.
Well, people don't want to hear this, and they don't want to hear excuses because he's the highest paid player in the NHL. But injuries do affect performance, and all last year he played injured. He played injured at the Four Nations. He wasn't a great offensive performer at the Four Nations. He only had 33 goals last year. I get it. You want more out of the league's best player. Well, the guy who's playing great now is the same guy. It's the same guy. So, maybe the injuries, he's past them. That you can only hope. The goal that he scored against Winnipeg was a typical Austin Matthews blast. He has scored consistently. He has been I think dangerous scorer for the last 11 games. And if you notice, he is lifting that number one line where Max Domi actually is good.
Right.
And Bobby McMahon, who I don't believe is a frontline player, but he is complementing Matthews and it allows Matthew Nyes to play on the second line with Tavares and when he's healthy, Nylander. So,
Right.
I mean, yes, that's what they need out of Austin Matthews. They're paying him that money. They expect the performance. They're getting that performance now. But the criticism of him last year and even early this year, I believe was directly attributable to injuries. And you may say, well, he's got to tough it through. I mean, he was toughing it through. He played a lot of games last year. He played a lot of games hurt, and it affected his performance.
Right. Look, the fan base is not going to be overly sympathetic to anyone on this team. Case in point, Morgan Rielly. There is very little sympathy for this guy in terms of how his ability on the ice is in. I mean, can we say full decline? I mean, it is what it is, but it's hard for the fans to give these guys any sort of pass at this stage, since the group that we watch night in and night out has not accomplished anything.
Mhm.
Again, if you've got a couple of rings in the bag, fair enough. But there's just an angst amongst the fan base that will never go away until this group or the group that succeeds it, or some group of players that represents the blue and white, achieve something beyond a second round playoff berth. And it's unfair, Mike, but that's where we are as a collective fan base. Just for your awareness, I mean, Matthews again just looks more engaged. Okay, he's a +2 over the 10-game stretch, where he scored all of these goals. So he's had some really nice nights when it comes to plus minus. The game in Vegas, he was a -3, but that was just a total shit show. But if he's healthy and re-engaged and reinvigorated, and he's ready to kind of take on the second half of his career the same way to at least a high extent that he did the first half of his career, then you know what, man, all we can do is support this guy, and hopefully the Leafs can build a team that is required to augment all of the things that he brings night in and night out. So what else you want to get to today, Mike?
Well, a couple comments in the chat about the real problem on the blue line, and you can say that a guy who's playing bottom pairing minutes is not a real problem, but Philippe Myers makes Simone Benoit look like Rod Langway. Philippe Myers is a horrible defenseman. He's been horrible all year. He was okay last year. He was passable as a 6-7 until they got reinforcements at the deadline in the name of Brandon Carlo. They were forced to play Myers or Benoit on most nights, and it was glaring. But last year they had the benefit of having a healthy Tanev for all year. You don't have Tanev. You don't know when you're going to get him back. You may not get him back this year.
Right.
And the acquisition on waivers of Stetcher has really saved them in a lot of ways. But it's still, when Benoit is out day to day, they have to play Philippe Myers. And it's my opinion that they have two defensemen better with the Marlies. And well, actually, I think Benning is still up with them as a seventh defenseman. But Matt Benning is better than Philippe Myers, and I believe Henry Thrun is. But clearly, Berube likes Philippe Myers because he's big and he's right-handed, but he's a liability. And earlier in the year when they were playing him with Rielly, that Rielly needs a steady defender playing on his side to counteract his defensive issues, and Carlo is that. Now, it doesn't mean that he's not going to have bad games. He's a double-edged sword. He scores and he gives up opportunities. But honestly, I think with a team with not a lot of assets, they're not trading Easton Cowan, because you've seen what Easton Cowan is, and is going to be based on the way he's growing. They're not going to get rid of him. They're not going to get rid of Nick Robertson, because Nick Robertson in the last 20, 25 games has been one of their better forwards. So if you're talking about trading for a defenseman, and Luke Schen's been out there, but there may be other guys, you're talking about giving up a mid-round draft pick. I mean, they're looking basically for reinforcement.
And to accomplish what?
Well,
somehow be incrementally better to get into a wild card spot.
Well, yeah. I mean, that is
Give up future, give up the
a
future.
sixth round pick, Norm. I'm not see that's the thing. They're not giving up Ben Danford, they're not giving
Right.
up Easton Cowan, they're not giving up their first round pick in 2028. They, for better or for worse, the
Who's going to bite
MLS
on that though, Mike? Do you think there are suitors?
for what? For a draft, for a mid-round draft.
Yeah.
They can get a rental defenseman like Shen, who was barely playing when
Okay.
Winnipeg. They can get him for a fifth or sixth round draft pick. I mean, you see those deals all the time. You're not going to get Rasmus Anderson. They're
Right.
not going to trade those. They don't have the assets to trade for those guys.
Right.
So that's you're not going to go big game hunting. You are going to you're going to get a player. I mean, hey, you got Troy Stetcher for free. If there's a defense that goes on waivers and they like them, they'll claim them. But I think Max,
I'm distracting you, Mike. Massadakis out of Detroit.
I know how to say Massadakis, but I was just
trade Stolars for a top D man. Stolars can barely stand on two legs. I mean, would he be worth something to anybody? There's no guarantee he's going to be able to make it through a week's worth of play.
Yeah, here trade New Jersey native and Stolars to the Devils for Dougie Hamilton. I mean, I'm not against trading Stolars because I think you what Hildeby did, and Hildeby's not perfect. He overslid the puck, overslid the crease a couple times. He was caught out of position a couple times, but you do see, the talent there. And if you notice, and then I think it was very conspicuous after the game against Vegas. They didn't come back with Wall, not because Wall was terrible and he cost them the game. I think it was the defense that cost them the game, the team's overall defense. But they maybe have finally come to the realization where after a game like that, you cannot play Joseph Wall 2 games later. He's a 45 to 50 game goaltender. He is not a 60 game goaltender, and there's a difference. You need a backup who can play significant games. If that's Stolars, fine. If that's Hildeby, fine. But Stolars is not your number one. He never was, and he never will be.
OG's converts, like the content, subscribe to the channel. About 90 people in the chat. Thanks for being here. If we missed your comment, apologies. It's just happening fast and furious. So this season, Mike, is really just about somehow, some way, shape or form, earning a spot in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. By any means necessary that does not mortgage the future. If you can trade out a late round pick or mid-round pick for a rental, and that individual can come in and help this team earn a few extra points down the stretch. Mm-hmm. That really, honestly, is the best we can hope for. The expectations and the goals have been a lot loftier over the past several seasons compared to now.
Right.
And I think as a fan base, we just have to confront that. It doesn't mean that in the years coming that the Leafs won't put themselves in a better position to actually vie for the Stanley Cup. But as we sit here, mid-January 2026, with the Olympics looming, the team dealing with health issues, sitting on the outside of the playoffs looking in, really, I think the goal should be somehow making the postseason and just letting the rest unfold. We'll do a few more minutes and get out of here.
I subscribe to the premise, and I did from the very beginning of the year, and I have found no reason to not subscribe to it now, that this is a team. I didn't think they would. I thought they would be top 3 in the Atlantic, but I thought they would be a playoff team, and I still do. But I thought that they would struggle compared to the way they had made the playoffs easy over the last few years, but that they were a better built team to compete in the playoffs based on the makeup of the squad. And I still believe that.
But not with this defensive group, and not with the fact that this team can't hold down a lead. I mean,
which is the reason why I think you need to tweak by adding a defensively responsible bottom pairing defenseman that makes you not have to. If you have a bottom pairing that can play 14 minutes rather than 10, then you play your top 4 less. And obviously you're going to play McCabe and you're going to play Ekman Larson. If you want to decrease the amount of minutes that Morgan Rielly is going to play, then you need to improve the bottom pairing. And if you do
Right.
that, then I think then it balances out, and I think you put him in more offensive opportunities. You put him more in offensive zone draws. You put him on the power play, and you don't have him on the defensive zone draws. I mean, that's the way you manage things. And if you get somebody, I mean, I don't know. Luke Shen might be past it. I didn't see. I mean, I didn't see him make any major gaffes yesterday.
Right.
But if not him, then there are other fish in the sea. There are other teams. The Rangers are dumping players.
Sure.
The St. Louis Blues are probably going to trade people. There are players on expiring contracts. The teams will be
Right.
basically looking to get a young asset for, or a draft pick, and that's something that Brad Treliving can accomplish.
Well, Myers is going to have to come out of the lineup. I mean, Benoit's hanging around. You're going to need Tanev back. I don't know what we're going to get from him, if anything. I mean, he's near the end of his career, Mike, and he's had a great career. It's been fun to watch him. I'm proud to say that he was a Maple Leaf, but I don't know what the hell you're going to get from that guy.
Well,
Anybody you bring in is going to, like I said, help this team incrementally move forward potentially. But how you change the philosophy of this group and become a team that plays 3-zone, 200-foot hockey all of a sudden, keeping pucks out of their net, being responsible for one another when it comes to the defensive aspect of the game. It's just not going to happen. Jack Doe, he's talking to Giovanni. Just need to play good defense, and the goaltender is good enough, and the scoring is there to get into the playoffs, and we'll see what happens. That's where we're at in a nutshell. We'll
well,
see what happens. We just need this, just need that. But day in and day out with this team, there's always something different.
Well, I'll push back on. I mean, Tanev's season may be over with. I mean, there has been very little information come out regarding the groin injury and what they're doing, whether they're going to address it surgically or they're just going to let it heal.
Right.
I mean, there's some talk that he's going to have the surgery and he could be out until March or April. His season may be done. I don't think he's done, because the type of defenseman that he is somebody who has a longer window than a guy like Morgan Rielly. If his game was speed, then I think his career would have been over with a long time ago. He's a positional defenseman. He's a shot blocker. He's a right-hand shot. I think he could still be good for another couple.
So he's got more seasons in the tank, you believe?
Yes. I mean, okay, I don't know whether he can eat 25 minutes a night. He's got to be able to move, and that's the whole thing. If this groin situation is chronic and it continues to happen, then he'll have lost even more of a step. But he's a positional defenseman. I think he can get away if he can come back to 100% either at the end of this year or next year. Then I think he's still got time left on that contract. And it was a 6-year deal. I think he's in year 3 of that. Right. If he retires or if he goes on long-term injury, it drops off, so it's not a factor. And that's what a lot of people, how can you give these veteran guys long-term deals? Because at the end of their career, when they're hurt, those deals essentially drop off, other than off of the team payroll. It drops off the cap.
Right. Again, I'm a big fan of Chris Tanev, but you look back on his 10+ years in the league. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have been riddled with time away, dealing with injury. He's played 878 games for his career. He should be well over 1,000 by now. I mean, the last 3-4 years, he's only played 11 games this season. An aberration. 75 games last season. 19 the year, 19, so 56. So he played a full season in 23-24, 65 in 22-23. With the Flames in 2021, 56 games. But going back with his years with the Canucks, 42 games one season, 53 games, 55 games. I mean, when he looks back on his career, it's been a good one, but there could have been so much more. And with the defensive group the way it is, relying on a guy who really should be there to support, I mean, that just gives you another example of how shorthanded this team is when it comes to competence in a place that it means so much. Real quick, Mike, we got another comment here from S8E21. Good morning, good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm hearing it's either Hamilton or Schenn. Both Anderson and Falk are too expensive. Schenn's a body, Mike. Schenn's a body. Hamilton, I mean, you said last week on this very program that you don't think that Dougie Hamilton's anyone the Leafs should really go after, considering the cap implications, how much he makes, and the fact that he's at a point in his career where if you want somebody who's going to be a stalwart, you're going to be sadly disappointed.
Chen is a $2.75 million cap hit that the Jets might be willing to retain salary to get a draft pick, because he's the seventh defenseman for one of the most disappointing teams in the league this year. So getting anything for him would probably be acceptable. They could, maybe you can give him Henry Thrun, because they don't want to use Henry Thrun. But the point is that that drops off at the end of the year.
Right.
Dougie Hamilton at $9 million, even if New Jersey agrees to retain 50%, that's a $4.5 million cap hit next year and the year after that for a guy who I don't know can play anymore.
Right.
So, yeah, it's just, I don't know.
Okay, so they have a bunch of games coming up this week. I think 4, finishing up with Colorado at home a week from today. Look, the team is all world at Scotiabank Arena. That is going to have to continue. I mean, this team can't go 2-2 without any loser points. It's especially when you are that mediocre away from your home rink. Look, if you have any designs on doing anything and potentially even getting into the playoffs with a slight bit of comfort instead of anxiety in the last few days of the season, this 4-game stretch is vital to be successful.
Yes, I mean I think they cannot afford to lose. Well, I mean, really between now and the end of the season, they can't afford to lose any game. It's accumulate the most amount of points. They've been really good at home. They face some tough opposition. I think the game that's the most important is the game against Buffalo, because that's a direct a competitor in the East. And it can't be a 3-point game. It has to be a game where you win outright. And if you lose outright, then you set yourself back. But, Buffalo has had their hottest streak in recent memory, 15 of the last 18 they've won. I don't think they can maintain that pace, so they're going to recede back a little bit. But you could say the same thing about Toronto. Are they as good as they've played the last 10, 11 games? We'll see. I think they're a better team than they played in the first half, but they have to win at home.
What else do you want to get to, Mike, before we go?
Nothing I can think of.
No. You feeling okay today?
Oh, yeah. No, I don't want to talk about
it. The OGs in conference have been goading you, and I've avoided bringing it up. So yeah. I stand by my word, Mr. Augello. Look, let's just try to enjoy this Maple Leafs team for what it is. I mean, when we hate on Rielly, we're expecting more from certain players that we know cannot deliver. They are what they are. Is this team going to win the Stanley Cup later this spring? Not a chance. Will it make the playoffs? Potentially. Will it give us a little bit more opportunity to follow the team that we all love and loathe so much? That is the goal. OG's Converse, like the content, subscribe to the channel. We have a sneak show that we did. It was a Wednesday, Thursday. I need your help on it, guys. The views are really low. Go in there and pound that for us on your devices in the next day. I want you to go and support us. Give us some hype on our content. Check us out on TikTok, all the shorts that we'll produce from this show. Whatever you guys can do to share what we're doing, help us grow a little bit here and there, that would mean so much. And that gives us more incentive to keep producing future seasons of the Leafs Convo for you. Mr. A, hang in there, buddy. Better days, we hope, are ahead. We hope. I mean, that's the key term. For Mr. Augello, I'm Norm James. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday Spectacular. We are out.